Hi, so today we're here with the lovely Joanna, who's a paediatric sleep consultant. So we're going to discuss all things relating to sleep with Joanna today and get all areas of her expertise. Hi, Joanna. So why is sleep so crucial for children to be able to grow, learn and develop in our nursery settings?
Okay, Lynn, so if you think about children and in the nursery setting, sleep plays a huge role in their brain and their cognitive development. So when they're coming in, they need sleep in order to be able to focus, pay attention, and take in all these experiences. And sleep allows them to soak it all up. And then when they go to sleep at night, it also consolidates all that sleeping. So when they sleep, it's like pressing the save on a file, and it helps them retain everything. And they're not going to be able to do that if they don't get sufficient sleep. I like to think of learning doesn't just happen in the classroom, it also is consolidated, and it helps children to retain it when they sleep at night. Also, their immune system is boosted when they're sleeping, and if they get sick, it helps fight off infections. Children grow when they sleep. That's when growth hormones are released. And also, it plays a huge role in their emotional regulation. So if children get sufficient sleep for their age, they're going to be better behaved, they're going to be able to focus and pay attention, and it just increases and enhances their mood and behavior. So it plays a huge role in the children coming into school and in nursery.
Okay, Joanne, so how much sleep would you say children need age 0 to 5 to play, function, and really enjoy and get the most out of being in their nursery and play-based settings?
Okay, so if you're thinking of babies from the ages of, say, 4 months to 12, they would need on average of 12 to 16 hours per sleep per day. That would include their naps. And then children from 1 to 2, they would be looking at getting anything from, I would say, 12 to 14 hours sleep per day. And then from 3 to 5, you'd be looking anything from 10 to 13 hours sleep per night.
Yeah.
Or, yeah, because they're kind of, that's the age when they're kind of starting to drop their naps then.
Absolutely, and I don't think parents realise sometimes just how much sleep children actually
Exactly,
need,
yes.
and how these sleep cycles are so important to them. So that's great. So what would you say are the most common sleep challenges that parents and young children face? What are the most popular ones that you have to deal with?
Well, the most common ones I would deal with would be children and babies who have multiple overnight wake ups. And that's not talking about newborns, because they're obviously going to wake up overnight to feed, but multiple overnight wake ups, short naps, sleep regressions, sleep associations, difficulty falling asleep independently, and often the older children stalling at bedtime and resisting bedtime can be a huge one.
What makes an ideal sleep environment then, and how do you best get children to sleep? What's the best environment to get them off to bed at night?
Well, it's very important to have the room nice and dark, because that sleep hormone melatonin is produced in the dark and light suppresses it. So it's good to get it nice and dark for the children. Make sure the sleep space is cool enough. It's recommended between 18 and 22 degrees for an ideal sleep environment. And then it is also important to have the sleep space, it's safe, there's no hazards or anything for them. White noise is a positive sleep association, and it's also good. It masks out unwanted household noises or noises that are outside. So they're the main three things I would recommend for an ideal sleep environment, and very easy to set up as well.
Amazing, amazing. So how important are bedtime routines for babies and children? How important is it to try and keep everything in a set, systematic way for children at night time?
Well, I think it plays a huge role for children. It helps foster positive sleep associations, and it provides a sense of security, and they feel safe when they have a consistent bedtime routine. And it primes the brain and the body. It signals to the child, oh, it's time for bed now. It's time to wind down. And it's just a sequence of events or activities that you do every night, and you repeat it, and a child feels safe and they thrive on routine.
Yep.
So it might be a bath and then into the pajamas, and depending on their age, they'll have a feed, you might have a story or a song, or even, and then a cuddle and into bed. And they're very, very important to have a consistent routine for children.
Amazing, amazing. And what about the first steps that parents should take if they want to improve children's sleep? So say they're struggling, what are some key things that when you visit with them you would suggest to start tackling any sleep routines that are disrupted?
Okay, I would think, first of all, like I mentioned, set up an ideal sleep environment. I mean, that's something you can do straight away. start implementing a consistent sleep bedtime routine, and then make sure that they're getting the adequate age appropriate sleep they need for their age so that they're not overtired. And then you could look at addressing any sleep associations and just prioritize the daytime naps, you know.
Absolutely. And what role would you say screen time plays in sleep issues? Because this is a big hot topic right now, and what we are discovering is the use of screens can be a huge factor in disrupting sleep patterns. So what would be your take on that?
Yeah, well, it does have an impact on child's sleep, and that blue light that's emitted from the screens, it suppresses melatonin production, and we need this melatonin to help us fall asleep. And if they're watching screens just before bedtime, they're going to find it harder to fall asleep.
Stimulation.
Yes, they're stimulated.
And...
Also, they might get anxious if they've watched some content that might be scary or anything. So it's better for them to have at least an hour before bedtime without screens. And I think us as adults could do with this advice as well.
We all need it. It's that annoyance as well when you take the screen from the child.
Yes.
If they're fixated and if there's not a regular routine or pattern, if you do have screen use, that's a big deal because they'll be agitated.
Exactly. And you just replace that with a nice, calm, wind down routine. Replace it with stories or playtime, you know, instead of screens.
Nice, relaxing bedtime
Exactly.
activities. Good. And what would you say about sleep transitions during starting nursery? So what's important for children when they're starting a new nursery routine or any type of new routine? It could be starting school after children have finished nursery or adapting to new environments or routines. What would be the important thing?
Well, first thing, I think parents need to choose a nursery or school that suits them and suits their child's needs. So if your child is napping in a nursery setting, find a nursery that suits your needs. Some nurseries might have set nap times, or like you here at EBN, you try to emulate the child's nap routine at home. Very flexible. So you need to find one that suits you. And it's good to bring in comfort items from home, like if they have a dummy or if they have a soft toy. Some people even bring in their cot sheets, you know,
blankets,
so the
blanket, the
so you can smell.
Yep.
Yeah, and recreate the setting at home. But I'm sure you guys have blackout blinds and the room's nice and dark.
Proper blackout blinds and proper cots for children, not temporary pop-up cots, but proper wooden cots for the children. Parents can bring in their own bedding, and then we try to emulate in the older sleep rooms little kind of camp beds with darkened rooms, but a little bit of lamplight when they first get settled in. So very much what you would be doing at home, we try and emulate here.
And it's good to be patient as well, to understand that there's going to be a transitional phase, and then you know, they just need a lot of TLC during this time and maybe an earlier bedtime while they're transitioning into nursery if they've lost any daytime sleep.
Exactly.
Just be patient.
Because if you don't know a room or you don't know an environment, that can disrupt it. So then you're right, if they're going to bed a little bit earlier at night, they will gradually fall into routines naturally as they settle in the new environment. So
and it's good as well for the children to come into the nursery environment beforehand, meet the caregivers, familiarise themselves with the surroundings so it's not as a big a shock when they do start.
Absolutely. It helps them to go around on the tour with mum and dad and settle in and even see the sleep room.
Exactly,
too. Okay, so what would you say are some common myths about baby sleep that you'd like to debunk? So what are the things that you often hear that you think that's just, you know, not true in my experience?
Well, I think one of the main ones would be sometimes parents think if I keep my child up later now tonight, then they're going to have sleep in later in the morning. And that often has the opposite effect, you know, because when you keep them up later, they're going to be overtired. When you're overtired, you release cortisol, the stress hormone, and that makes it very hard to fall asleep. And when you're overtired, they often have an earlier morning wake up. So it's actually having complete opposite effects. So better just keep your child on a regular schedule and avoid those early morning wake ups.
Exactly. So if you could give a piece of advice to sleep deprived parents, what would it be, Joanna? What would you tell them?
Well, I think for parents who are sleep deprived, it's very overwhelming. You don't know where to start. But I think small changes can make a huge difference. Like your sleep environment, you can do that quickly. You can get blackout curtains or blinds. You can set up a routine from today. And that's also these little changes. And if you are struggling, reach out to someone. There's no need for long-term sleep deprivation because I think a well-rested child is a happy child. And then parents are going to be better rested if their children are well rested as well. So it's a win-win.
Absolutely. And it's about emotional regulation as
Yes,
well.
yes.
A sleep deprived parent is going to really, really struggle during the day. So it's really important that they know that it is a temporary window. They will get through it.
Yes.
And with the right support and consistency, it all comes together in the end. Because I
Absolutely.
know these periods where it can go up and down and parents will think, we're never going to sleep.
Yes,
We're never going to get a
exactly.
sleep pattern.
Yes, of
But
course.
it always comes together in the end. And I know if parents are really struggling, that's your area of expertise. And they
Absolutely.
can get in touch with you for any type of specialist advice, and the
Of course they
nursery
can.
too. If you
Yes,
need.
of course. Well, thanks for having me, Lynn.
No, it's been amazing to hear all your feedback today, because sleep is such an important issue
Huge.
for children. It's a huge issue. So thank you for giving us all your expert knowledge, and we'll hope to have you back at some point in one of our future EBN connections.
Thank you. Absolutely.
Thank you
Thanks,
very
Lynn.
much.